Okay, so welcome to the first episode of Twinkie's Track Time, or Nerdberg Knowledge. I don't know, title's a work in progress. We're going to move past that for now. So the idea of what we're doing here is we're going to be driving, hopefully all of the cars eventually, around a lap of Nürburgring. We're going to do one lap with the braking zones on and the racing line on, exactly as the cars are provided to you from the game. Then we will be turning the braking zones off and we'll be running a flying lap. We will go for 3 of these. We will keep the best time and we will show that lap and have a little chat over the top. So today for our first episode, we are going to start with the Alfa Romeo 8C 2900B Touring Berlinetta from 1938. So it is currently the most expensive car in the game, and we're going to talk about that a little bit once we get it on the track. But obviously we have 20 million credits built up to purchase this particular vehicle in the Legends lot. We're going to go ahead and take that. Watch this beautiful piece of old school coach building roll out of there, which means that the actual body of this car is not attached to the frame in any way that's permanent. It can be traded out like a truck bed, basically, as you can unbolt the body, take it off, put it back on, because it was made by a separate company from the engine and drivetrain. Coach companies don't exist anymore, obviously. They're all one-piece unibodies molded together. Same person makes it all from start to back. We are going to get in the car and we are going to head out here to Nürburgring. This is where we're going to run all of our time trials, and like I said, we're going to do a lap with braking zones on, then we're going to do a couple of laps with them off, but we're always going to have the racing line on. The reason we are always going to have that racing line on is so that we have a neutral zone to be compared against at all times for all cars. We'll see which ones stay closer to it, which ones drift farther apart, so forth and so on. So as you can see, the settings here are traction control 3, which is exactly how it hands it to you, automatic transmission. I am playing with a controller on a PS5, default ABS, no auto driving. We will always have the line on for a neutral control line. The brake indicator and zones will be on for the education lap. We will turn them off for lap number 2 when we are going for a timed lap. The reason to keep them on for that first lap is simply just to help me understand what car I'm driving, because I have never driven this before this moment. So let's go ahead and get in here. Now, we're going to make sure that everything is functional. Left stick is how we're going to be driving. We're going to be driving with X and square, acceleration and brake at the moment. We can switch that over to the triggers if you guys so prefer. Just let me know, whatever it happens to be. But those are the default settings. That's how we're going to do this. I use my sensitivity on 5 now. As we get into this practice lap here, figure out what I'm actually driving, see what's going on. I'm going to attempt to drive these laps as close to the racing line as possible so that we understand the handling abilities of the car. I'm not going to cut any corners. I'm not going to try and do curb skips. I'm not going to try and slide it around. We're going to try and be as accurate and quick as possible to get a smooth comparison. So we said we were starting with the Bertinelli here. because it is currently, as of today, the most expensive car in the game at 20 million credits. We're going to discuss that 20 million credits because there was a lot of complaints when this particular Gran Turismo 7 came out. Two separate groups of people were complaining. Group number one, it was too hard to get credits. And then the 1.07 patch came out, the 30 hours of downtime, all that stuff happened, and then afterwards it was harder to get credits, according to, the people who were complaining about it, and so be it. The only real answer I have for that is, duh. It's supposed to be hard to get credits. It's not Need for Speed where you're supposed to go win a race, slap some neons and a sub in a car, and then go take a crap in a Canadian front yard. That's not how this is supposed to work. This is supposed to be a driving simulator, which means that it's supposed to take time. You're supposed to learn the courses, learn the cars, drive it, and put in the effort. I didn't believe that it was hard to earn credits beforehand, but I'm one person. The rest of the world apparently thinks I'm wrong. That's fine. They can be idiots. So, complaint number 2 was that there was a 20 million credit cap. Now, this is the same credit cap that existed in Gran Turismo Sport, and that is completely acceptable. That is not an issue. The complaint was that the cars were too expensive in some of the Legends lot purchases, like this one, that cost 20 million. Now, the thing that the society didn't realize when making this complaint is that the Legends lot and the used lot are live variable prices ran by Polyphony Digital, and Haggerty, the auction and car collection company. So the problem that you've now created, when 20 million credits was the cap, no car in the game could cost more than 20 million credits, because that's as many credits as you could get for free. Everything else had to be purchased. And they said they would never make a car so expensive you had to buy it. So, originally, 20 million cap, 20 million credits for a car. That's it. That's all. Did you have to spend your whole bank on a car? Sure you did, but oh well. We're driving for a reason. It's supposed to be hard to get cars. They're supposed to have value because of that. Now, the problem is they have raised this cap to 100 million credits because of the complaints of the people. Now, there are microtransactions in this game, and because of those microtransactions, people can just go buy the credits if they really want the car. The issue of raising the cap to 100 million credits is they can now charge us up to 100 million credits for any car they want, whenever they want to, because that's how many you can get for free. So everyone complaining that it was too hard to get credits beforehand and was worried about having to pay 20 million for a car, now you're still going to have trouble getting credits because you're going to have to pay 100 million for a car, because at any time Haggerty could go, hey, this is the most needed car in the world, we're just going to go ahead and mark the price of that one up, here you go, which then drives microtransactions and just makes them more money, so they don't care what you think anyways. So, now that that is out of the way, now that the complaints are done for the day, where we're running this practice lap, we're about a third of the way through the track on this opening practice lap. This car handles far superior to what I expected it to do. Being as old and heavy and bulky as it does have a V8 engine developed by Alfa Romeo. Obviously, the coach was built by somebody else. I don't know who that is off the top of my head, but it is really moving for a car that's as old as it is. Now, that being said, nobody in their right mind would ever put this car on a track. They only made 6 of them in the real world, and if somebody in the real world decided to run one of those 6 around the Nürburgring, I'll fly to Germany and punch them in the face myself, because that's just dumb. I'm a person who believes in driving cars, using cars. They're meant to be driven, they're meant to be pushed to the limits, they're meant to be modified and made your own. But if you've got enough money but not enough sense to buy a 1 of 6 original built piece of heritage, you deserve to be punched in the face. So, now as we're in the middle of this practice lap here, we have realized that our top speed is 99 miles an and that 99 miles an hour does not turn. Now, surprisingly enough, this car does actually turn better than some of the all-wheel drive Japanese performance cars that I've driven so far, which would make sense because old Japanese all-wheel drive performance cars aren't meant for corners. They're meant to go really fast, slow down, and then get really fast again. This particular car, as you can see, has a ton of body roll. I have not modified anything on the car. We're going to drive them all completely stock. It can't turn sharp enough, however, to stay in that fishbowl coming around this practice lap, even though we're coasting there. So it's really all that's happening here with this particular automobile. We're going to get this practice lap in place. As you can see, some of these braking lines still exist, but we're going to ignore most of those because they expect you to be going faster than 69 miles an hour. Now, one of the reasons also why we're talking about this introduction that we're keeping the racing line on for all cars and all laps is it does not change. It doesn't matter if I'm driving this Bertinelli or if I'm driving a Ford GT40 or Lamborghini Murcielago. It does not matter. The racing line on the game will be the exact same. Every car. It doesn't take into account speed, angle, entry. Nothing matters to that yellow racing line. So that's why we're going to use it as our neutral control unit as we drive this $20 million car around the track. Now that 20 million is credits, not actually dollars. The one in real life, I believe, sold for north of $490 million when it sold, and it wasn't as pristine as it is now, because again, there was only 6. So we're going to go ahead and hopefully hit these last 6 or 7 corners, catch into the long straight before the closing chicane, and try and lay down a nice flying lap, since I've got a pretty good feel of how this particular car is going to handle. It's like I said, it's far superior to anything I expected beforehand. As soon as we get onto this straight up here around the corner, we will take a look inside the vehicle. We'll go ahead and check out the cabin view, the front hood, see what it looks like from that side. And as soon as we get the cuts for the quick lap on the board, running the time trial, we'll go ahead and pop by the garage, take a look at it a little closer, and then we'll close out a video, see if you guys can give me some comments or suggestions for the next car you'd like to see. I am on the way to owning them all. Obviously, I just spent 20 million credits on this one, but I do own every other limited vehicle available since game launch, besides the Ford GT40 Mark IV. I did miss that car on opening day. I also have only received a Ferrari invitation at this point through my playing. I haven't done any of that daily ticket glitching where you can roll your clock forward and all that. I haven't done any of that. So we are going to go ahead and pop inside, take a look at this car. We're looking at some serious body wobble just going straight, but the fact that a car from the 30s is doing 117 miles an hour is absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, you can see those rudimentary wipers, all the body roll, the really nice wooden leather interior there, the gigantic steering wheel, which is classic of the 30s. We've got this nice long hood, which is holding our 8C V8, developed by Alfa Romeo. You've got those double headlights on the front end. We've got the sweeping fender wells, very traditional for this time period, especially for coach-built cars. As you can see, like I said, we're ignoring most of those braking lines because we are going so slow. And this car brakes extremely well for how heavy it should be, which is a bit troubling for the game physics. We are going to go ahead and turn off those braking zones for this flying lap to go ahead and wrap this one up. So we are going to put down about 3 flying laps here, try and place the best time we can. 9:58 on the educational lap is not very good by car standards. That being said, I didn't expect it to be very good, as this is a old coach-built car. It's not some 2016 Ferrari. So it's got tiny little tires on this thing. To be completely honest, I would be extremely surprised if a real world one of these cars could actually turn like this. But this one actually handles really well in the game. It could be fun, get some guys together, hit a track in the lobby that's 1940 and older cars only. Those were a lot of fun back in GT Sport when you could catch some old niche cars and just have a good time driving around. So we are coming through the second quadrant of the track on our flying lap here. Have to let off the gas a little and turn, which there is no way in the real world the tiny little tires on this car could actually take that kind of an angle. I do believe that with a lot of these coach built and just beauty cars that the game throws into place here, that the real world physics don't apply. Now, if you hop into something like Castrol Tom Supra that's been in the game since GT started, the physics that apply on that is far superior and way more realistic than this would ever be, because that is an actual racing car that we have information and physics to apply. As you saw, I went off the track a little bit back there on that swooping left-hander. That's simply because this thing, I cooked it in too fast and it just slides out. But the fact that I could recover that spin like that and stop it from losing control completely is just not real. Because if you would have slid this thing out like that, the spokes on these rims would have just snapped off and your day is done. Which is why I led this in with anybody who actually tried to put this car around a track in real life needs to be punched in the face. I don't care who they are. So again, we're going to try and lay down a nice flying lap here, get something on our leaderboard. The game does track your time trials leaderboard. This is going to be the first one, so it will obviously be our fastest car. I just need to get some suggestions about what you want to run next. If you want to run an actual performance vehicle on the track, if you want to do some niche cars, some offshoots, and we'll just work our way through. And as I understand it, there's currently 420 cars in the game, so we've got 420 things to choose from as I can acquire them. And that's going to be the biggest part. There's a lot of special or elite cars that are hidden behind invitations, which you can only get from the daily raffles, and you can only get them from a raffle of 3 stars or higher. They're the little weird shaped icons that have a car logo on them when you go through your daily raffle tickets. So that's going to slow progress down on some of these cars, but anything that comes through the used lot, anything that goes through the Legends lot, I can buy it. Anything that's in Brand Central for sale always, I can buy it. I'm open to suggestions. Let me know what we need to throw around this track next. I overcooked that corner there. That's when that brake failure go ahead and kicks in, because this is a big car. It should not brake as well as it is currently. This lap is going to be entirely unrealistic for the real world. On the flip side of that, me hitting this car into the wall a second ago meant that my unborn child's unborn child is now owned to the owner of the vehicle, because it's just that expensive. But again, here we are running flying laps in a car that has no business anywhere near a racetrack, because it's Gran Turismo. Why not? That being said, some things to mention, some cars that we can beat the crap out of. Like the Pikes Peak, the 1987 Pikes Peak Quattro. It's in the game. I have it. It's a real famous car from GT2, because you could throw the quad turbos on it and have some 1700 horsepower or something like that, and just send it to the moon. You could have to adjust your downforce to stop it from flipping, and we're talking way back in GT2 on PS1. So it's been carrying a following since then. Obviously, we've got Castrol Toms, which has been in the game since the very beginning. It's one of the most famous racing supers on the planet. I have gone ahead and I've got one of the Superleggera Formula One cars. We've gone ahead and picked up the Team Yost Audi, which we can run. It's gained a pretty good following lately. I do have a couple of GT40s, just not that Mark IV, the 1966 Mark IV. Cooked that one, but we're going to go ahead and drift a 1930s Bertinelli around the corner. Why not? Just throw it out there, Tokyo style. We are coming around to the midpoint of this particular track for mileage sake. Obviously, Nürburgring here is an international track. It's known for car developers testing all of their cars on it. That's why we decided to use it, and we're going to run every car we run in this particular time on there. So we need to come up with a name. Got a couple of suggestions. Nürburgring knowledge. Twinkle's talking track time. I'm open to whatever's going on. Obviously, the people will run this particular series. If it gains any traction, it's going to be up to you guys, the people. We will be streaming it live on Twitch. We will be putting uploaded streams on YouTube. Any other platform that needs it, we can do it. We've got a plan to get some guest drivers in here, have some banter, a little bit of communication, see if we can get a couple of people with the same car on the track, see what their take is, different driving styles. I have been playing Gran Turismo since launch on PlayStation 1. Obviously, I am a casual player. I have driven with a racing rig setup at times. I don't currently have one for my PS5 or available to me at the moment. Not saying that I won't set another one up and let's get back into that, but at the moment it is controller on PS5. So everything I do can be done by you. I am more than welcome to go back, do some circuit experiences, some license tests, whatever people need. Obviously, I have golded all of the license testing so far. I haven't really dug into the missions too deep. My wife's a big fan of those, so she does most of the missions. It's just what she likes, so I leave them for her. I have started digging into some of the circuit experiences, but I did just run through 15 of them and just bronze them and move on. Bronze, gold, silver, whatever it happens to be, whatever it was, like one-try scenarios, to just get the trophy and leave so that I could get the 15 circuit experience trophy for PlayStation. The only thing I'm missing for the PlayStation trophies as we come around the second fishbowl here, and I overshot that bad, is taking a bunch of photos and escapes and getting a hold of a third Legends of Le Mans car. So as we come around here into this closing stretch, let's just do a quick recap of this car. Obviously, it is absolutely beautiful. I mean, look at this thing. It is ridiculous how luxurious this is, even for today's day and age. We've got the cargo netting back there. We've got the trim running all the way into the roof on both sides, passenger space. It's just indicative of a craftsman era when we actually used to build coaches, like horse and buggy coaches, to set on top of frames with motors and then instead of horses, which was really what the high-end cars did for a really long time until Henry Ford came along and made it mass production. And as much as you might hate Ford, the only reason we have cars is because of that guy, so he's got to get respect where respect is due. So we will be closing out the flying lap here. Oh, overcooked it bad. Oh, she's dead. We're all dead. Everybody's dead. There's no airbags in the 30s. However, we did save a little bit of time off that lap, minus that. We will go ahead and finish it up. Ta-da! Let's go ahead and pop over to the garage with that on the board. I will go ahead and run 2 more of those off, and I'll cut in the best lap. We can see in the sectors there, struggled a little bit in sector 6 and 7 on this second lap. I believe that sector 7 was where I slid off the outside of that track on the swooping left-hander. Not really sure what went on in sector 10 for me to be that 4/10 slower, but consistency is key. And we can just look at this thing. There's no reason for it to ever be on the track. It is just beautiful. Obviously, it doesn't have any brake lights, so they're not required in that time, nor were they required in Europe at that time, which is where it is from. It's in Alfa Romeo. So let's go take a look at it in the garage. You can see it on the board there as the first episode, the first car, the first ranking. Most expensive car in the game, can do this track in a 953, which is just abysmal. That car honestly shouldn't have even ran it that fast, but physics don't apply to the luxury vehicles in this game that have never been around a track, because they're just guessing anyways. Get my mileage. I spent every last dime I had to buy this car. As you can see, I have 18,000 credits left. No big deal. I drive a lot. So we will pop on over to the garage. We will pop into the car here, and we will take a look at it just a little bit as we finish up, and it puts us into some beautiful escape settings, because that's where that car would really just shine, just cruising down the road in that magnificently built coach from Alfa. It's just a beautiful piece of machinery that has no business on a track. So that is going to close out our first episode, our first time trial. If anybody sees this video at all, go ahead and drop a comment, drop a like, maybe subscribe if you feel so necessary. We will get a time set in place for live broadcasts in the future. Go ahead and let me know which car you want me to drive next. Let's go ahead and see what we can do, see if we can get some laps laid down, get some times in, maybe do something a little bit more performance next time around. But that's going to go ahead and close it up for this first episode. Thanks, guys.